Breaking news: Syria's President Ahmed al-Sharaa meets Erdogan in Turkey as sanctions are lifted. Hello and welcome again to the Sit Down News. My name is Nefechuku Ureme and I will be bringing you the news as usual in detail. In a landmark diplomatic encounter signaling a shift in Middle Eastern geopolitics, Syrian Interim President Ahmed al-Sharaa met with Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan in Istanbul on Friday. The high-level meeting came on the heels of a sweeping move by Western powers to temporarily lift sanctions in Syria, providing a critical opening for the war-torn to re-enter the international economic and diplomatic arena after more than a decade of isolation. The meeting marks the highest-profile contact between the two countries since the outbreak of the Syrian civil war in 2011, and it underscores Turkey's intent to play a central role in Syria's post-conflict reconstruction and reintegration into the region. President Erdogan welcomed al-Sharaa at the presidential complex in Istanbul, where the two leaders held extended bilateral talks followed by a joint press conference. Erdogan hailed the meeting as a turning point in regional diplomacy, expressing his confidence that a new era of cooperation and stability was beginning between Ankara and Damascus. This visit reflects the will of two neighboring peoples to overcome the past and build a future based on mutual respect, regional stability, and economic prosperity, Erdogan stated. We welcome the steps taken by the international community to ease the burden on the Syrian people. Al-Sharaa, who assumed interim leadership of Syria after the withdrawal of Bashar al-Assad under a UN-brokered transition deal, echoed similar sentiments. He thanked Turkey for its support during the transitional process and emphasized Syria's commitment to a policy of regional openness, reconciliation, and reconstruction. The meeting comes shortly after the United States and the European Union announced a 6-month suspension of key sanctions against Syria. The exemptions include waivers on the Caesar Syria Civilian Protection Act and other financial restrictions that have long hampered Syria's access to international banking and reconstruction aid. These sanction relief measures are intended to encourage stability and support rebuilding efforts, particularly in critical sectors such as energy, infrastructure, and agriculture. Turkish officials have already indicated interest in investing in reconstruction projects in northern Syria and enhancing bilateral trade. President Erdogan called the sanctions relief a long-overdue humanitarian step and pledged Turkey would continue to lobby for a permanent lifting of all remaining restrictions on Syria. Security issues dominated part of the discussion, particularly concerning the presence of Kurdish militias in northern Syria. Turkey has long viewed the US-backed Syrian Democratic Forces and its affiliate, the People's Protection Unit, as an extension of the Kurdistan Workers' Party, which is considered a terrorist organization. According to sources close to the talks, Turkey reiterated its demand that the Kurdish militias be dismantled or integrated into the Syrian National Security Forces under strict oversight. President al-Sharaa reportedly assured Erdogan that the Syrian government was committed to re-establishing full sovereignty over all national territory and would work with Turkey to ensure mutual security and respect for territorial integrity. Both leaders also reaffirmed their joint commitment to combating remnants of ISIS and other extremist groups still active in eastern Syria. A key outcome of the meeting was the announcement of a bilateral economic coordination council tasked with facilitating Turkish investment in Syrian infrastructure, transportation, and energy sectors. With Syrian cities like Aleppo and Homs facing urgent reconstruction needs, Turkish companies are expected to play a central role in rebuilding roads, power grids, and other public services. Al-Sharaa also extended a formal invitation to President Erdogan to visit Damascus later this year, signaling a potential full normalization of diplomatic ties. The future of Syria cannot be built in isolation, al-Sharaa stated. We are open to regional partnerships and we see Turkey as a key partner in that future. The humanitarian crisis in Syria remains dire, with over 12 million people in need of aid and more than 6 million displaced. The partial lifting of sanctions is expected to improve access to food, medicine, and essential supplies, though aid groups have warned that sustained progress depends on political stability and the avoidance of renewed conflict. International reaction to the Erdogan al-Sharaa meeting has been cautiously optimistic. UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres welcomed the dialogue, calling it a positive development toward regional stability, while the European Commission said it would monitor the Syrian government's conduct closely during the sanctions waiver period. The Istanbul summit between Presidents Erdogan and al-Sharaa represents a major diplomatic breakthrough in the post-war reconstruction of Syria and could escape the region's political and economic landscape. While significant challenges remain, including unresolved territorial disputes, lingering security concerns, and the fragile nature of Syria's political transition, the meeting has opened the channel for renewed cooperation between Ankara and Damascus, signaling cautious hope for a more stable and integrated Middle East. This has been the news in detail. My name remains Nefechuku Ureme. Do not forget to follow us on all social media platforms at Desitdown News. Have a great day.
Don't forget to follow us for more content.